Recording. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where we have the discussions on innovation, leadership, and becoming the CEO of you. Each week, I will bring in a content creator, and we'll talk about strategies and actionable steps on how you can live your best life. Today, I am here with you with Nikki Woods. How are you doing, Nikki?
I am awesome. How are you?
I am doing quite well. Thank you. We have a snow day today.
You know what? We got a little bit, we're in Dallas. We got a little bit of snow, just enough to kind of scare everybody. But hopefully that's going to be it. This is the first year that we haven't got any real snow. So I'm hoping that this will be it. Where are you?
Mississippi.
Oh, you got snow in Mississippi. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they shut it down. They shut it down.
That's the same thing here. Yeah. We were shut down for a week, and anywhere else like Chicago or St. Louis, they would have still gone to school. But yeah, it can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Oh yes. So I'm enjoying my day today.
Awesome. Well, good for you.
Well, thank you. So I wanted to have you on because you are such a powerhouse, and I follow you. Yeah, you said, "Ooh," like you're surprised. And I'm following you on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I see all of the things you're talking about with self-publishing and marketing yourself and making things happen in your life. And it's very powerful. And for my mission in working with educators to become edupreneurs, this is
I like that.
Well, thank you. So this is a topic that I really wanted to bring to my audience.
No, absolutely.
So I thank you for being a guest on the show.
I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you. So for those who are watching, and we'll watch the video cast in the future, and we'll be listening to the podcast, will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Nikki Woods. I am probably best known for my work in media. I was in radio and television for 20 years. I worked in Chicago, in Boston, in Connecticut, and St. Louis. And the last position that I had was executive producer of the Tom Joyner Morning Show. We're based in Dallas, and that's where I am today. And so now I have my own company. So I'm an entrepreneur. I run Nikki Woods Media. And what we do is we really help authors, speakers, experts, thought leaders, anyone who really wants to impact the world with their message. We help them monetize it and get the visibility that they need in order to build a sustainable business.
I hear you, and I love it. I tell teachers all of the time, stop giving away all of your pretty for free, because so many of them speak at conferences, and these ed tech companies have these ambassador programs where they give them a badge, a t-shirt, and they go out and talk, and they don't get any money.
Right.
And I'm telling them we're done for that, because I don't have availability dates. I have availability rates, so I see a look on your face. I'm just serious about my money at this point. No,
I get it. I definitely get it.
So it's awesome with the work that you are doing. So I always like to ask people, particularly people who are doing the work that you are doing, who is Nikki Woods, and what do you want your legacy to be?
You know what? People ask me that. I get that question quite a lot. And I think it's a good question to reflect on, especially, at certain points in your life. And really, my answer has kind of remained the same for a long time. Like, I just want to be known as the chick who showed up, right? Because anything in this life is about you showing up. It's not, about wealth for me. It's not about fame for me. It's that I showed up and did the job that I was assigned to do. And I feel that I've done that. I mean, obviously I have, a long, fingers crossed, time to continue to do that. But I feel that I've done that for most of my career and most of my life. And that's what I want to continue to do. I actually posted today. It's so interesting. I posted today that if you show up to your life, no matter what's going on, because we'll find any reason not to show up. But if you show up to your life, then everything that you need in order to be successful will show up too. But it can't meet you where you aren't. So you have to be there for it to meet you. So I just, like, on my tombstone, I just want to be the chick who showed up.
Nice. So I have a friend who keeps telling me that I need to write a book. Now,
okay.
Because he knows I want to get to that next level in our industry as a speaker and presenter. I prefer podcasting. over writing. I mean, I really dig this. How can writing a book add to one's brand and supercharge their business?
Oh, it's the fastest way to become known as an expert in any field. I mean, for whatever reason, and this has withstood the test of time, if you write a book, people figure that you have so much knowledge that you could put it in between those two covers, that you must be an expert at what you do. And so it instantly gives you that credibility that you may not have otherwise. It also kind of gives you the heads up on some of your other competitors. So if there are 8 people in the same lane doing the same thing and only one of them has a book, chances are you're going to want to talk to that person, because you figure for whatever reason, because they wrote a book, you know, they know so much more. And even when I was with Tom, you know, I had to book guests for the show. And normally they were in the expert, you know, financial experts, you know, relationship experts, whatever. And if they had a book, I mean, it was, you know, 50% of the way there. Because I knew that to my audience, I didn't even have to read the book. I just had to know that it was there. 50%, you know, because then to my audience, it says, oh, this person really knows what they're talking about. And then there's the whole thing of content creation. I mean, you just want to be able to show that you know what you know. I mean, keeping it inside your head and having it not benefit anybody does you no good. And then finally, the last thing, and there's a lot of benefits, but the other really big benefit, especially for people who are looking to create a name and build their platform and reach outside of, you know, their immediate circle, a book can do that. You put a book on Amazon and anybody anywhere in the world who is looking for what you have to offer can pick up that book. You know, it doesn't have to be a cousin. It doesn't have to be a friend down the street or somebody at work. Anybody in the world could pick up that book. And I was talking to, and I talk a lot because I talk for a living, so you can just kind of give me the wrap up, son, when you're ready. But I was talking to a friend of mine, Melinda Emerson, who is known as the Small Biz Lady. And she wrote a book like 8 years ago about how to start your business in 12 months. It's like a 12-month plan on how to start your business. And I called her because I also do some booking for other people, some freelance producing. And so I book, you know, other talent. And so I called her and I was like, we really want you to talk about starting a small business in 2018 and, you know, based on your book. And she's like, you know, I wrote that book like 8 years ago. And I'm like, but that's the beauty of a book. It's like, they don't get old unless it's some like high tech, you know, something that really gets dated quickly. Most of the information is good. And it still says you're an expert. So whether or not we even talk about the book, the fact that you could write a book about small business makes you an expert. So I think books are fabulous. I could talk about books all day.
No, it's all good. I love the enthusiasm.
Can you see my dog? This is real life.
Oh, that's a husky, right?
Siberia. He's just a puppy. He's like 6 months, but that's Blue. That's our Siberian husky.
I want one. I think they're beautiful, but my wife tells me I'm too lazy to get one. Because she's like,
I was too lazy to get one, but nobody told me. They're work dogs. So they're used to, somebody told me to get a sled and hook them up and have them pull it up and down the street. Because you need to exhaust them or they get mischievous. So yeah. I would have thought twice if somebody told me I had to be so active with it. We have him now and we love him, so we do. But yeah, he's sweet.
So one of the things I love about this digital age is we no longer have to ask for permission.
Ooh, gatekeepers are gone.
They're gone. You don't need. Chance the Rapper doesn't have a record deal. He puts his stuff online, so you don't need to say, "Hey, will you put me on the line?" You want to be a film director. Make your own movie, put it up on YouTube. You want to be an author, right? You can now put this thing, self-publish, pop it in the Kindle, and the world sees what you have to offer. So please speak to the successes and strategies for self-publishing, and how can people use the marketplaces like Amazon for distribution?
Okay, and before we do that, I just want to say one thing about like the gatekeepers being gone, because I am a media strategist. So I want to really impart that media is still very valuable. So there are still certain, they're not gatekeepers anymore, but they watch the gates. And so there are people that are still in charge and making decisions on whether or not you're going to be on CNN or you're going to be on the MSNBC, one of those shows. And so when you start to write your book and you're creating content and you're making a name for yourself, you make it that much easier for those gate watchers to say, we're going to put you on our airways. So even though there's still some people in place that kind of regulate a little bit, because I used to be one of the gate watchers, you still can do a lot to open up those gates. And you couldn't do that 10 years ago. So we're in a beautiful age. But I love, and I'll tell you, I'm an author and I'm both self-published and I'm both traditionally published. And I love both. But what self-publishing does is it really gives you 100% control, not just of the product, but of the end result. So even when you traditionally publish, I mean, still, and a lot of authors don't get this. They think that if you just write the book and hand it to a publisher, they're going to do all the work. And that's not the case anymore. They're looking for people who have a platform. They're looking for people who can sell a book, and they're looking for you to help them market this. But with self-publishing, and then you lose control. Like you lose some control over content, you lose some control over the money, even though they usually pay for everything up front. But with self-publishing, you have 100% of control. So you have to put up 100% of the money unless you have some other game plan for that, but you're still in control of that. But you have 100% of the content in how the content gets distributed and how the content gets leveraged. And that's a lot of power. I think one myth is that, if you write a book, even if it becomes a bestseller, that you're going to be rich and you're going to be living large. And that's not necessarily true. The key is to take that book and then leverage it to build more of whatever you're looking for. So I really specialize in, I know how to teach you how to write a book and publish a book and market a book and launch a book to best-selling status. My company has, to date has created or helped to create more than 500 best-selling authors. But my unique proposition, my unique value proposition is helping you build a business based on that book, even if you've never had a business before, or to help you grow that business because you're now a best-selling author, or now because you have this book that shows that you're an expert. So it's like we all want to stop. Like we want to do something and we want to pat ourselves on the back and we want to stop, but you can't necessarily stop. You have to take that book, you have to leverage it, and then you really have to make the impact that you were put on this earth to make. So I'm all about, let me tell you, I am not apologetic for wanting to make money. I'm not apologetic for monetizing my talents. I'm not at all. But I think that the beauty is when you make the impact and the income, and you can do both. When you don't make the impact, then it's a lot harder to make the income. But when you are serious about changing lives and changing, the world, the income will come.
That's a tweetable. I like that.
Yeah, you better tweet that.
I like that. So how does one successfully launch their book?
So it really helps to really begin. And people come to me and they're like, well, when really should you start to prepare to market this book? My ideal is a year out. Now, a lot of that does not happen. It's very rare that I'll get a client come to me a year ahead, and say, I'm ready to start marketing this book. But that's ideal. 6 months, even 3 months. I had somebody come to me, and I guess it was like 3 weeks before, they were supposed to launch the book, and they had no idea what they were doing. And we were able to put a campaign together, and they were able to launch it to best-selling, status. So it can be done, but you want to stack the odds in your favor, and that means giving yourself enough time to really create a plan and be able to implement the plan. And part of that plan is that you need to create the audience for this book. And the best way to create this audience for this book is to show up on social media, create a Facebook group, build your email list of excited people for whatever it is you're offering. And so that is really the best way to do it. And then, there's strategies on how to launch it, when to launch it, that sort of thing, the steps you put in place. But the biggest thing is that you want to create an excited audience that are eager and anticipating whatever information is that you have in that book.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to throw this out there to you, because I've heard two schools of thought in terms of your community and marketing. So some people talk about you need so many followers, and other people have said it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It's the relationship you have with your community, because if your community buys into you, whatever you put out there, that community will ride with you. So which one would you say works best?
It's the quality of your community and not the quantity of your community. In fact, Facebook just changed their algorithm to reward people who are engaging with their audience as opposed to people who are selling. And so that really directly affects anybody that's on Facebook for business purposes who have not taken time to nurture their audience. And you can tell now. I mean, it's like, even when I was with Tom, and I've been gone for like a year and a half, but even when I was with Tom and we were looking to book a guest, we would look at their social media following, because we recognize the power of obviously what our platform brought, but what potentially your platform could bring to us. And so you can look, and somebody could have, in fact, I'll tell you a true story. I was looking at a friend of mine, and he's got a great following on Facebook. And so, I looked at his Twitter. I've never really been a follower of his on Twitter, but I was like, well, let me support him in all areas. And he had like 140,000 followers, right? And so then I was like, how did this happen? And then I kind of looked through his, and he would have like a retweet here, a like here, but nothing substantial. If you have 140,000 followers, you should be getting retweets, likes out the wazoo. And so, so you can really tell that even if you have a lot of people, they don't care what you do. And you don't want that. You want people who are actively interested in what you have to offer. And so it is very important that you really take the stance that for each and every person in your community, you're going to show up. And it's like, I got the comment the other day, like, how do I have the time to comment to every, people, or, and I don't respond to every single person, but I do try to like everything. If you said something to me, or if you've asked me a question, I try my best to respond. And I really don't like giving that over to anybody else. So I still do a lot of it myself. And I was like, because it's important to me, because I recognize the power of the relationship, and I respect the relationship that we have. And even as, like an audience member, because I'm in other people's communities too. And as a community member, I would like the same attention, that I give to people given to me too. And I think everybody, from a basic point of view, wants that. And so it's really important that even if you have 100 people, I mean, if you have 100 people and they absolutely love you and 50 of them become clients, that's not bad, depending on your price point. That's not bad. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't matter how many you have. Like you said, I really believe it's in the quality, and social media is starting to follow that model, and really looking at the quality of the interaction as opposed to how many people you have.
So earlier in the conversation, you spoke of how writing the book is just the beginning, and that you can leverage it to other opportunities. So what are those opportunities that exist where authors can actually make passive income?
Well, some of it's active and some of it's passive. Active income, you can become a speaker. Media opportunities can help you grow your client list, that sort of thing, because it really does broaden your reach. Passive income, a lot of the people that come to me, even if they've never thought about it before, I suggest that they start building online programs. Put something online, and usually it can just go based on the books. Like if you have 10 chapters and in each chapter you're teaching something, then you have a 10 module online program, and you set it up, you record a couple videos if you want, write some text, give some worksheets, put it together, market it along with the book, and then just have people, set up a website and just continue to send traffic to it and have people opt in. And so once you create it, it's done, and that becomes your passive income. Affiliate marketing is a big thing that not so many in our community, our African American community, talk about, but affiliate marketing is a great passive source of passive income for me, because I'm able to leverage my platform and make money without doing a lot of the work. And basically what affiliate marketing is that you find somebody that's about to sell a program, write a book, do something, and then you become an affiliate, which means you promote their product and you make a certain amount of money based on how many people in your community purchase from them. And so for me to find people that do things that I don't do, I become their affiliate so that I can further serve my community for people that may need that, and I can't offer it. And then I also am able to make money that way. And usually most good affiliate people, marketers, will allow that to be true for the for perpetuity. So as long as that program is offered, whether you're actively marketing it, so like say you write a blog about how to write blogs, and somebody has a program about how to write better blogs, and you're selling that program and that blog could be up for 10 years. If somebody clicks that link and purchases that program, you'll still get paid. And you can do that for not just people, but also services that you use. So if you're a podcaster and you use a certain, software like Zoom, which is what you use, you can become an affiliate for Zoom. And so if you say, hey, I'm a great podcaster, this is my result, this is great. If you want to be a podcaster, go use Zoom. And if somebody does use Zoom, then you will get a cut of that because you sent them their way.
Oh, thank you for the information.
I'm telling you, white people have been doing this forever. It's like you wonder why they're always recommending certain things. And it's because if you click that link and you purchase from their unique link, they will get a cut of it. So they're always if they use a certain email software like Constant Contact or whatever, you become an affiliate. And so every time somebody buys based on your recommendation, you get a cut of it.
I'm going to have a conversation with someone who's doing so.
I know lots of money making tips.
So most of my listeners are educators, and they're doing all of these things, but some of them they start to think, I'm just a teacher. I don't have expertise. I just teach, and they don't understand that they in fact do have expertise. So how does someone actually find out what that expertise is and actually niche that down to either writing a book or turning that into speaking opportunities?
Well, I think that you have to figure out what you have a passion for. I think a lot of us make it too difficult. We go on this deep soul searching journey to figure out what our passion is, what our purpose is. And I think it's a lot easier than most people think. I think whatever it is that you love doing, you can monetize it. I don't care what it is. There is somebody, you are not the only person in America that likes this or enjoys this or does this. I don't care if it's knitting. I tell you an interesting story. My oldest son loves fish, right? And so he's, an expert at tanks, and I bought a tank and he takes care of my tanks. And I was talking to a colleague of mine. I was like, I'm thinking about kind of trying to get him maybe to create a basic program for people who don't, buy fish, but don't know how to set up a tank. And she was like, we Googled it, and you would be surprised at how many people Google, how do you set up a fish tank? And so he never did it, but he still could do it. But if he did it and put it up and people Googled how to set up a fish tank, and you come up with, Tyler's fish tank, tank setting up course or whatever you call it, that's a customer. You know what I mean? And so we get the impression that if 10 million people don't like it, it won't be successful. And that's really not the way it works. Basic branding 101 is that the more specific and the more, targeted you are with your audience, usually the more successful that you'll become. Because it's really easy if you say, I am a fishing expert and I work with children on the East Coast who are the ages of 12 to 15 who like to skip. I mean, that's very specific. And so your crowd is going to be saying, that's me. I'm 12 to 15. I live on the East Coast. I like to fish and I like to skip. That's who I am. Right? They're not confused at all. But if you're doing 10 million things and you're posting on the internet, one day you're a knitting expert and the next day you're teaching Taekwondo, and then nobody can really say you're who I need because they don't have any idea what you're going to do on Tuesday because you're going to be doing something different on Thursday. So you could be a Spanish teacher. I have one girlfriend who is she's a Spanish teacher, but she teaches to single moms who eventually want to go to Spain. So she has a very targeted audience, and she teaches them enough, Spanish, and then she takes them to Spain, and then they have this getaway and that's her audience. That's her audience, and it's very successful. And so you don't have to do everything. Do one thing really well, and then once you nail that, add a couple more things. But you don't have to do 50 million things to be successful, and you don't have to have 10 million people want it for it to be successful.
So you're very active on social media. I see that. Do you ever feel that you have to be careful with what you say or what you post? And how do you how much of yourself do you decide to actually share?
Oh, I'm very transparent on social media. There are only a few things that I won't directly touch, and that's more out of respect for my brand and my future income earning opportunity. And so for me, like one of the things that I really want to move into is more corporate training. And corporations are very careful about who they associate themselves with. And so you can't really be politically active. You know, there's just a lot of things that my brand does not support. But I've made like that conscious decision that that's the way that I want to go. And so everybody kind of has to do that. There's some people who made their entire career on being politically disruptive, and that's fine. That's their brand. And so they have to continue to do that. But I'm very transparent in my life and where I've been in my story. My children, you know, I talk a lot about my family, my children, things that I've been through, because I don't think it's fair for anybody that's considered in the public eye or has a lot of visibility to not be transparent, because a lot of people look at you, and I see this on social media all the time. And when I talk to my clients, people now compare themselves to what they see in the media and what they see on social media. And it's not fair for anybody to think, oh, she got to this position or she is who she is because she led this charmed life. Like, far from it. You know, I've had a lot of challenges in my life, and I continue to have, you know, different things that I have to work through. But as I posted today, I show up. I show up in life. No matter what's going on, I show up. And if you're paying attention, you might be able to tell that something's going on. But part of my mindset is that I don't care what happens. There's nothing that's going to stop me from doing what I came here to do. And part of me spreading that message is social media. I love social media. I'm a communicator, and I love communicating in any form. And social media is a part of that for me. But I think people also have to recognize the power of it in your business. I don't know anybody that just wants to hang out on social media anymore. I mean, it's not that I just want to, you know, that I just want to show up and hang out and talk about, you know, and swap baby pictures and talk about what my dogs did today. I mean, it's business. But as entrepreneurs, most of us are our business. And so everything that I believe in and what I stand for is the same thing that my business believes in and my business stands for. So I'm the best representative. You take Apple. I mean, we know more about Steve Jobs than we did about Apple, the company. And he was, you know, he was just, well, he wasn't just, but he was the CEO. You know, the same about, you know, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. I mean, they're very visible. And so social media has kind of changed the way we operate. It's not that there, you know, there are a lot of high profile business owners now that we closely associate with that business. And that's why you see a lot of business fails because they've done some stupid stuff that showed up on social media. A lot of people resigning because social media has now outed. So you just have to be very careful. I think people should be honest and people should be transparent, but you do have to be careful of your brand.
Okay, so now I want to stick with that for a little bit and throw this out there to you about the power of social media, because there are a lot of people who are not professionals from all sorts of industries who are not on social media. And I find it interesting sometimes because I look on TV and I see someone, they may be interviewed, and then I go, oh, let me check their Twitter feed. They're not on Twitter. And I know a lot of educators who aren't on Twitter. So will you please speak to why they should be on Twitter and engaging in social media, and how should they start once they have created their account?
So I think, well, let me start with how you should start. So I think that everybody needs a plan. So I don't know if it may seem like people just randomly show up, but there really is some grand design in all of that. So I think that for people who are not familiar with social media, maybe a little intimidated by social media, you need to put together a very simple plan with, like, what is your goal? If your goal is to spread information about how not to get the flu, then a lot of the information that you share should be about how not to get the flu. Whether, one tweet is, make sure you're taking your vitamin C every day. And another tweet is like, if you get 8 hours of rest, you're less inclined to get the flu. Whatever it may be, you have to start talking about it. And just be very strategic in that, because I think a lot of people are like, well, what if I say this and it goes crazy and yada, yada. So you just have to be very strategic about it. And you have to believe what you're saying. So and a dog is going to bark. We have 2 dogs. And the other thing is, I think that everybody who really does want to make impact, they've got to think bigger. I think people, and this may sound a little harsh, but I think that people who don't want to be on social media just don't think big enough. They don't think, okay, well, if I'm here in Dallas and I'm talking about how to write a book, I could get a call from New Zealand with somebody who wants the information. They don't think like that. And that's what social media can do for your brand. It used to be, and I'm going to date some folks here, but it used to be that, you just want to be in the yellow pages. Right? So the people in your little area, your little zip code, could find out what you were selling. And then you just wanted to be statewide. And then it was national. I mean, you could be global. You could be international with your business. And all you have to do is send a tweet. Like, who says no to that? And it's free. Who says no to that? You know what I mean? It's people who don't really, either they feel they don't deserve to be international. And if somebody says consciously, I know that I'm just going to stay in my little zip code and I'm good with that, then more power to you. But if you really say that you want to change the system, change the world, make an impact, and you just want to stay in your 3-mile radius, then I think that that's pretty selfish, honestly. And I think that you need to figure out, there's too much information out there on how to use social media, for people to get a basic start. Now, I think if you're going to really want to utilize it, maybe you should get some, to consult or somebody to give you some direction. There's a lot of good online courses on social media. There's a ton of information. But just to get started, I think you can do it. The best way to attack it, I think, because I think people should be on at least 3 platforms. How many are you on?
LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay, good. Yeah. I would suggest, though, especially being a podcaster, that are you on YouTube?
Oh, yes. My podcasts go to YouTube. Yes. Okay.
So that's a social media platform. And, possibly, but not so that you have video. But I also say, if you're not going to have video, then you should have some kind of photo like Pinterest or Instagram. But you're good. That's good. So I would say start with one, learn that one, decide if that's where your audience is. Because if it's not, you need to find where your audience is. So for me, like, I love Twitter. I absolutely, even though I talk a lot, I don't want to be typing a lot. So I love Twitter because it's quick. You get in, you get out. But my audience is on Facebook for empowerment. They look to me for the great quotes. But LinkedIn is where I really make my money. And so, I could lose Twitter and be okay. I'd be sad, but I'd be all right. Like, I have to nurture Facebook and LinkedIn, whether I know it or not. And for LinkedIn, I'm still learning, like how they do engagement, what's good, what's not, how to get people. I'm still learning that. But I know that that's where I am for more of my business type stuff. I'll post a motivational quote, I think, once a day. But other than that, it's like tips. It's like, here's an article, it's more business type stuff. And so people really have to pay attention and learn that, because you want to be where your customers are.
Oh, yeah. I love social because of not only what I can learn and what individuals can learn. I actually wrote my dissertation on teachers using Twitter for professional development, but I look at it for the connections. Like, yeah. I personally don't know you. But we were able to connect via a social network. And I love how you can get all this information and get to the next level. Because, again, I'm in Mississippi, and no one thinks of Mississippi as the hotbed of anything. But I have been able to, expand my reach to now I'm writing articles for folks for pay. Right. I have my podcast that's growing. I'm speaking for money. I'm able to do all of these things because I was able to create this image, this brand, with social media to extend my reach outside of Mississippi. So it's just awesome. And I still can't believe that people are just not on it. They're just, I go to a conference and I'm thinking, okay, where we're going to meet up and tweet and talk about stuff. And it's like, it's not happening. And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's like I think about like the people that I've met. Like there are, I can think of like 3 people that are just like extremely now close friends, colleagues. We do a lot of work together, and it just started on Twitter. Like, you know, she followed me and then I followed her, or I followed him and then he followed me, and we just developed this connection. There are people on Twitter that if I don't hear from them, you know, like in 2 or 3 days, I'm like tweeting like, where are you? I mean, there are relationships, but I will say this, you can't do everything online. Right? So at some point you have got to get offline and really nurture those relationships. You need to pick up the phone, you need to meet for coffee, you need to go to a conference, you need to go to a meetup, you need to go to a networking, you have to get offline. There should be a healthy balance of online and offline. And as a teacher and as a mother, as a former teacher, you're a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm really concerned about this next generation because they aren't developing the skills that they need to really network offline. It's like they don't have the conversation because, you know, people don't go to each other's homes anymore. Now they meet up online and they play games or whatever. And so they're not developing some of those soft skills that you need, you know, the charisma, the speaking, the network, just all of that, just conversation. So I'm extremely concerned about that. And I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. And so, you know, I've noticed, you know, just how it's changed and it's a different world. So it's not like mine are just different than everything else. It's just the world they live in. But how are we as the older generation going to step up and really help them develop that? But just as business owners too, it's like if you can get really comfortable, you know, in your yoga pants and your t-shirt at home, you know, creating stuff, but you really have got to go. And, you know, meet people and network and attend conferences and really work on that aspect of it too.
Mm. So before we go, and this has been an awesome conversation, and you've dropped so many gems, and, you know, I've been trying to post my podcast once a week. So I do about 3 to 4 podcasts a week, and I've been trying to stagger them now so I can have that content pop out like that so people can expect, oh, every Monday, Dr. Will show comes out. But you're making me rethink that with this episode. This is really good right here.
Well, I will congratulate you on being consistent and know that you have to set an appointment. People like when you set appointments with your content. They like to know that, you know, something is coming out. And so over anything else, being consistent is my big thing. So if that's once a week, then stick with once a week. If that's once a month, I'm going to frown, but I'll be okay with it. You know, I realize the power of content, so I post a lot, but I also repurpose a lot. So I'm not constantly creating new content. But if I do like a podcast or if I'm an interviewer, and I'll probably do the same thing with your interview, and, you know, we talk about 10 different subjects, to me, that may be 10 different blogs, you know, and you cut it up and you put a little bit here and a little bit there. So I do a lot of that. But I recognize the power of content. Like I'll get sales, you know, because I do a lot of low level products, like, you know, $19 products and $9 products, because I recognize that not everybody's going to be able to invest a ton of money. And I'll get a sale, be like, oh, I wrote that blog 2 years ago and somebody just found it, they read it and they wanted whatever it had to offer. So there is power in content, but I don't want people just to be busy, you know, for the sake of being busy. I want you to do things that are going to be productive and impact your income. I don't want you just to be busy.
Oh yeah, but I love it. This is, you know, this is one of the things. So I sometimes a teacher will say at the school, you know, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, you know, because I'm an instructional technologist. So sometimes, depending who the person is, I will do something after school. But I've told people, look, I give everything I got to this district from this time to this time. But after that, I'm investing in myself because I got things I'm trying to build. Before we go, what is your call to action for those? They want to write a book, but they don't know where to start. And what are some of the platforms that they can use to actually self-publish?
I think for most people, they get really in their head about writing a book. So it like seems like this daunting task. The first thing I would say is that you no longer have to write a manifesto, right? So it no longer has to be this 400-page monstrosity of just deep, thought-provoking information. People really, we're like in that ADD fast food society now. I mean, we really want what we want it quick, and we want to get in, we want to get out. So I would say if you have a 300-page book, I would try to break it down into 3 separate books. I think that you can write a much shorter book that will do really well in sales because people will get what they came to get. The other thing I would say is that you really just kind of have to sit down and start doing it. You need to create an outline, so you got to go back to the basics. I don't know anybody who can sit and write a well thought out book on, start at page 1 and just start writing and not have a plan. So you need to create an outline, and that can just start by, writing down what 10 thoughts do you want to put in this book, and then start expounding on it and then start writing. The other thing I say to experts and thought leaders and speakers is most of us talk about what we're going to write about. We talk about it a lot. And so if I was to say, okay, you go do a 45-minute webinar on how to fly a kite, they can do that. But if I say sit down and write me a 100-page book on how to fly a kite, they can't. So then speak your book. So just talk about it. Come to your outline and then just start with the first thing, find the right string and then, talk about that and then keep doing that. You can always find somebody, at a very fair price that can transcribe it. And then you can go back in and clean it up and add and do that. But at least that takes away the daunting task of sitting there and writing 100 pages for people who, because I say they're writers and they're authors. There's some people who just want a book, but they're not really writers. And I get it. And so if you're just an author and you just want the book, I say go the easiest way possible. And that's to speak your book. And then I guess the last piece, and then, you have editors. I mean, I write a good book, but an editor can make a good book a great book. So don't think that you have to write this book on your own. You're going to bring in different people. I'm sure you're going to have people read it and give it feedback, but then you're going to get a great editor and they're going to clean it up. They're going to make it pretty, and then you're going to be able to really go forward with the book. So, don't think that once you write that first draft that's what the public is going to see, because it never really is. Usually it's like the 4th or 5th draft that the public gets. So don't worry about that. Just write the book. But the other thing, and we alluded to it earlier, is you really have to start building that community before you start writing the book, while you're writing the book, in anticipation of you publishing the book, because it doesn't matter how great your book is if there's nobody to buy it, if nobody knows it's out there. And I would say probably 40% of my clients have written their book, they've published their book, and the book is not done anything for them. So they come to me and they want to relaunch the book, and they want to now try to leverage that book to build whatever they wanted to build in the first place. So those are really my tips to getting started. But at the end of the day, you just have to do it. It's like with anything else. There's no magic fairy that comes and waves a wand and produces this book for you. Eventually that you're going to have to do it.
Mm-hmm. And what platforms are available for them to actually publish the book?
The only 2 that I recommend, and I want to make a clarification in a minute, but the only 2 that I recommend for self-publishing is Amazon's product CreateSpace, which is a very easy platform to use. And for the most part, it's free of charge. There are expenses that come with writing a book, and Amazon can provide those certain things like, book cover design and editing and that sort of thing. But you don't have to use them for that. And I would recommend you probably don't. And so outside of that, it's free to publish your book. Once the book is done and you've gotten it all, you got the cover and it's been edited and you have it formatted, all you have to do is upload it, and it's free. It's very easy, and it makes it a lot easier, for sales, because Amazon ships the book for you, and, they're reasonable for you to order copies if you have to go to a book signing. I also suggest Ingram Sparks. They're a good platform. The only difference between Ingram Sparks and Amazon is Ingram does a lot more with helping you get your book into bookstores. And they also provide a hardcover option. Amazon does not. They only do like the soft cover. But both, Ingram Sparks, you can actually post, you can use CreateSpace and then go to Ingram Sparks if you just want a hardcover. But those are the 2 that I recommend. The distinction that I want to make is that if you have to pay anything to anybody just to publish the book, you are not self-published. You are paying somebody. And a lot of people will say, well, we're a publisher and we want to put you out there, and they kind of represent themselves like they are a publisher. You are paying twice to self-publish your book. So normally you got to pay to do all the work, but then you're also paying somebody to kind of facilitate it for you. And that's not truly self-publishing. And like I said, I think you're paying double money. So you really, should look at Ingram, Sparks, and Amazon. There's tons of information online if you just want to Google and see like kind of what the process is. But there are also tons of coaches that can help you do it. And so if you are unsure, I say I would rather you pay somebody to help you, walk you through the process and help you put together a marketing plan and a media plan, instead of putting your hard work, your time, your energy, your sweat, your love, your passion into something that nobody is going to see.
Mm-hmm. So I want to throw this out there to you because you the two instances you mentioned, you brought up actual physical copy of books. Mm-hmm. And we know that ebooks are huge as well. Do you mm-hmm. recommend that people do both or do one or the other?
I recommend people do both. I still think that there is a large population out there that, and I'm part of it. Like I much prefer a hard copy. I'd much prefer holding a book in my hand. And usually what I'll do is I'll buy both versions if I really like the book. So I'll have it on my Kindle if I'm traveling or, whatever, at the doctor's office, you don't want to take a book. But if I really want the book, I want a hard copy of the book. And then the other thing is most people, when they read a book and they like a book, the author is kind of like celebrity to them. They're like somebody that they look up to and want to meet. And so that's another stream of revenue for you to take it to conferences when you do your speaking events. A lot of people, and I'm not going to make an opinion of this either way, but sometimes you speak for free, and I think that's fine. But if you do have to speak for free, you want to have something that you can sell on the back end. And for a lot of people, the easiest thing to have is a book. So you want to look into that. But I say do both. I mean, some people, obviously Kindles can be a little bit, cheaper. They're more, I don't want to say cheap, but they're, inexpensive, as opposed to buying a hard copy. But I think that there are people out there that want both. So I suggest both. And it doesn't cost any extra money. I mean, you have to format the book for Kindle and for hard copy. So you might as well get both or make both available.
Awesome. Thank you again, Nikki, for being a guest on the show. This is so amazing. People, hey. I'm just sitting here. I just went old school with the razor roof.
Well, you were extremely patient because we were supposed to do this like 3 months ago and just one thing after the other came up and happened. So I appreciate you having me on your platform, but I really appreciate you being flexible with all the changes that were completely my fault. So.
Oh, it's all good. And I really, from, looking at your content and watching your videos on YouTube and everything, I really wanted you to be a guest on the show because I personally learned from it and feel like that my audience will be able to learn from it as well, because I am truly serious about this entrepreneurship going on.
I love it. And it can be done. I think that's, I've seen, doctors, I've seen other people that, are not quite satisfied where they are with income, and they create products, and programs that people can benefit from. I have, a client who's a therapist and, they see clients all day, but there's a whole world out there that may be able to benefit from their knowledge. And so, making that available. And there are some people that just can't afford to meet with you one-on-one. I mean, sometimes consulting hourly rates are steep, and they should be if it's valuable, but you should also have an alternative for people who may not be able to pay that right now. And so that's why, I told you low tier, mid tier, and then you have your cream of your crop, high tier pricing. But I want everybody to benefit from what I have. And I give a ton of free content too. So I want everybody to be able to benefit that needs what I have to be able to benefit from it.
Excellent. And we are very thankful for that. So people, you know how I do, right? The video cast is going up on YouTube. I need you to subscribe, leave a comment. The podcast itself is going up on iTunes and SoundCloud. Same thing. Go there, subscribe, leave a comment. Your boy's trying to make a come up with the next level money. Right? You try to help me out. And when this comes out, I'm going to tweet this. It's going up on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm going to share it out and show and allow you to be able to show you ways to be able to connect with Nikki on social media as well. So as always, people, invest in you, EDU, peace. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you. I had a great time.